No, you're good.
Hi, everybody. Long time no see from my side. It's been like well
I
over
actually
2
have
months
gloves
for
on.
me, so it's been a while.
It's okay. I mean, we've got, real life stuff going on. Hi, everybody. I've got gloves that I'm going to put on because I don't think I'll be using my phone today. But yeah, welcome everybody who's watching us from wherever you are. We are back from doing some events, although there's more events coming up. Because for us in Arizona, is con season is approaching. So we'll do quick introductions. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself,
Sure. Hey, everybody. Long time no see. I'm TB Raincloud from the Seattle area. I've had a lot of life happen, so I've been taking it easy on my end. Still hanging out in the Discord. All of the resources we talk about today are in our Discord. So for anybody who's interested in the websites or the lists or anything that we talk about today with buying costumes, they will all be in there. We have some European cosplayers, Canadian cosplayers, and American cosplayers. So there's a pretty good range of people to talk about where to buy and what their experiences are buying from different sellers, which is really nice. So go check out our Discord. It is really fun. It's going to be the easiest way to get all this information to you because it's just a bunch of lists. But happy to be back.
Yeah. Hey guys, I am Jinx. Oh, yes.
I'm cosplaying Lan Suzy from Modazushi because I'm still trapped in Donmei Hill.
Hi guys, it's Jinx Cosplay here, and I am been cosplaying since 2001, primarily in Phoenix, Arizona area. And I am dressed as Kitana from Mortal Kombat. I wore this. I don't buy many of my costumes, but I did buy this one because I'm in the middle of a move and I can't really make anything. And plus, this is just like sometimes when it's just easier to buy, like than make, and cheaper to buy. Sometimes it's like better that way. So I am, I wore this to Game On Expo just this past weekend. Was it this past weekend? Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like it was like so long ago already. So Anthony, hello. So that's who we're dressed up as. Love the coloring on you, Jinx. Thank you. I do love blue.
This is actually one of my few bot cosplays as well. It probably wasn't until it was like 2019 when I actually like bought my first cosplay. I'm also like just new into the buying, but oh man, it's nice to be like, I want to do this beautiful big build. I don't have 40 hours to drop building an entire Hanfu by hand. So yeah, I bought this and now I'm happy.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing that I have as well, as like, especially when life things happen, I mean, I love to like build stuff, and I've been in the situation where I've managed to throw something together last minute just based on the things that I have, that I already have. But right now, if anyone's keeping track of my life, because it's kind of all over the place, I moved into a new apartment. That's why my background is blurry, because there's boxes behind me. So most of my craft things are in boxes, and I've actually just recently started putting together our craft room here. I moved in with our fellow cosplayer Makaria, so both of us are cosplayers, and we definitely wanted a place where we could have an extra space for all of our crafting and sewing. So hopefully the next show that I'm in, I'll be in there, because I'm going to have a little stream set up in there, because right now I'm actually in my workspace and I'm in the common area. So that's what's going on with my life. Anthony says,
Sorry, I was about to say, Anthony, like, never say I actually buy costumes instead of making it sadly. Like, never use that term, please. Like, not everybody can afford the time or energy or money to build an entire costume. Like, it's never a sad thing that you can't build your cosplay.
Yeah, and it's like, it's become so accessible for people to buy, which is cool. I think it's great, because then that means more and more people can cosplay. Because a couple of years ago, people would be like, I love to cosplay, but I don't know how to sew. I don't know this or that, or I don't have the money or time. And it makes it a lot easier for people to, join cosplay when they don't have to. Like, they don't have to do all that stuff.
I started just by going to like the thrift store and like picking pieces that were like the closest I could get, and then slowly altering until I was able to like build up to building from scratch. And so like I always tell people that buying is something that it's really cool that it's now really accessible, especially for big cosplayers. Like, the moment I realized that I could buy my cosplays, I had a epiphany moment that I could buy my cosplays because I was burning out. I had all these costume plans I wanted to do. I didn't have the energy or time. And I got really lucky, and I was working for the Pentagon, and I got to work alongside AK Wiru, wonderful human being, World Cosplay Summit. Go check them out. But he came in this beautiful bot costume, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't make this. I am too tired. That yesterday's costume I made, but I am not doing 2 days of that." And I'm like, "Oh my God, why am I doing, like, why am I putting myself through this much work when I could have just bought my Sunday costume?" So now I've been giving myself a lot more leeway to, if there's a costume I really want to do, but I just don't have the time because I'm working on like a competition build, I will just go buy the costume.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I used to be like strictly like, if I can make it, I should make it, you know? And so I kind of had like an internal struggle where I didn't want to buy costumes, and it had nothing to do with the fact that like, oh, you bought them. Ugh. It just was like just my own expectations of myself. Like, why am I not making it? Like, I have the skill, I should do it. And then I was proposed by, my friends, obviously, Thermo and Thermo Sidekick and Amber Bright. And they're like, hey, we need a fourth for KDA's, the KDA Pop Stars group. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh, that's such a short notice. Oh, I don't think I can make that in time. And then they're like, well, here, buy this. And it was like $40. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that, So
sometimes it's cheaper to just buy your costume too, because like this, my Hanfu, well, kind of sneaking into next week's episode, I'm all about buying cosplays off of other cosplayers. Like when they want to retire a costume, it's a great way to get costumes in a secondary life and to keep the cosplay life sustainable. So I actually bought this off a friend because I really was like unsure about cosplaying along 1G, but I really wanted to. And so she was selling this for cheap, and I was like, you know what? I can use this as Lan Suzy, or I can use this as Long 1G. I can do so much with this costume. And it was like $50. And I'm like, yeah. It would have costed me hundreds just for the fabric to do this entire Hanfu, because it's huge, not counting all of the hours. And so it's like, yes, here, take my money, because now I don't have to do this.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I actually go into, because I buy a lot of secondhand clothing in general. Like, I love Goodwill. I love sustainable fashion. I myself am not, I don't like to sell a lot of my costumes, but it's mostly just because I have a hard time parting with it. So it's nice to be able to buy other people's costumes. I haven't bought anything that's been made, but I have bought manufactured costumes secondhand, which I think is great because a factory makes it, the materials are probably not always sustainable, or, so to be able to give that a second life or a third life, because I'll sell it again after I'm done with it. And the nice thing about cosplay is it's not like regular clothes where it gets normal wear and tear, right? It's usually, I mean, hopefully not. It usually is in pretty good condition. And if there are any kind of issues, maybe it's just a button that's popped off, or, sometimes zippers need to be replaced, which can be tricky for some, but I always figure out a way to do it.
This one had a couple of stains, like bad stains, but I was like, I am a master at cleaning white fabric. Because I've had way too many white costumes with like blood and gore. So I'm like, I got this. I will totally buy this off you for those like little tiny stains, because that is nothing. And so I was really excited because she felt really bad selling this to me with like, it's white. The entire thing is white. It's gonna get messy. And I just knew that going into it. She felt so bad. I was like, no, seriously, like I have pictures. I think I posted them on the Cos Talk Live. Like I took out all of the stains. Like you can't even tell. It's white. So I felt really good about it because my friend was like, I'm never gonna wear this again, but I feel bad because it has stains on it. I'm like, no, I got this. And honestly, it's given me so much dopamine. Like I realized 2 days ago I can be Lan Suzy, who's my favorite character in Moda Azushi, because I had this wig hanging out, and I'm like, oh, I could just do this cosplay. It wasn't necessarily on my list anytime soon, but I got the materials. So I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, and I love that with bot cosplay, you can, after you wash it and repair it, like it's just ready to wear. Having, being someone, both, Chibi and I both sew costumes, like sometimes it gets frustrating not having like a tangible thing while you're making stuff. And you're kind of just like, what am I doing?
40 hours in and you still can't wear anything. And you're just like, what have I put myself through?
Right. I'm like, when does the fun start? Oh, sorry, it's really bright. I'm like sharing a bunch of stuff. But like, when does the fun start? Like, I really want to have fun right now. And I still have like 2 more weeks of sewing and detailing before I can actually put anything on,
It's so nice, especially for like, I started getting like, I got really bad burnout for a couple of years, like pre-pandemic. And I was really struggling with like myself as a cosplayer and like who I was and like what I wanted to do. And I realized that I just like life and cosplay are very, very hard to mix together. And so I started buying a handful of just like smaller costumes. And I'm like, oh, well, these are things that I'm interested in doing, but like not going to be doing competing or anything in. But the nicest thing that I learned is I can buy these costumes and then all of that energy I would have spent building can now just go in straight into my competition piece. So like the one costume that I'm like, this has to be perfect and like high standards, I can put all of my time and energy into just that one costume. And then the rest of them are just touch-ups that I'm just like, oh, this, I just have to do the wig and the entire costume is ready. And like, same with my Wuxian, like the entire costume is ready. All I had to do was the wig. And it's so nice that I can actually like put all of my energy into this piece that I am passionate about and I'm really excited to show off. But then I can still enjoy meetups, or I can still go to events, or I can still do the panels that I want to do without sacrificing that extra time and energy and money. And it's been honestly a huge relief. And now I can kind of like line up my costumes where it's like, okay, well, I have 3 months until this con. This is the one costume I'm focused on. The rest of them, I don't have to worry about anymore. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think that definitely helps with like people that go to events because I've been doing this for a long, long time, right? And in the beginning, it was pretty much like if you didn't make it, then you had to make it. Like there was kind of no choice. And then
we didn't have a lot of options. Like you couldn't just Google any character you wanted and get like 10 hits. Like if you were lucky, you could find a Naruto costume.
Yeah, or like Naruto, or maybe even Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
and then sometimes Sailor Moon. Like they started out with Sailor Moon patterns, Sailor Moon Fuku patterns a long time ago. I think those were probably the first patterns that were available in terms of like cosplay patterns. Of course, they were marketed as very generic, like ice skater girl patterns. But yeah, and then if you bought commission, so then there became these cosplayers that were just so skilled. They started commissioning, right? And it sounds like such a noble thing, noble career, but then people were kind of looked down upon if you bought a commission. And it was like, but, I'm still supporting another cosplayer. So it was really tricky in the beginning, kind of elitist, So I was always under the impression that if I went to an event, I had to have like 4 new costumes, right? So I would make them, whether or not they were like small, tiny costumes or some, not even really big builds. There were not like a lot of big builds back then. But nowadays, when you go to event, especially I think with COVID changed a lot too about how people have to have like content very quickly. When there was no like events to cosplay at, there was never this like anticipation of sharing a cosplay at an event. You could just get on TikTok, get on Instagram, and just people were self-taping and photographing themselves. And it became such a demand to have new costumes more often than, the typical one con a month or less, right? So then buying costumes became more popular.
Yeah, in my area, exact same thing. Like growing up in cosplay at like early 2000s, you had to build everything yourself. And if you didn't build anything yourself, you had to have a really good reason why you didn't. Otherwise, people did ask questions about your costume. And I'm glad that is starting to go away because that was so toxic. But it was really hard because like you only could make so much between college and work. And then you only had a couple, because in my area, we only had we have Emerald City Comic Con, SoccerCon, and PAX, and then we had one other smaller convention. Like, we only had a couple through the year that we would go to. So you only had like 2 events that you would build costumes for through the whole year. And now everything is so big. And not only is it events, but it's online. And so it's like people are constantly wanting to have like new costumes all the time. And it's just so crazy. And I realized that I was one of those crazies, but like it is so freeing not having to stress out as badly about it.
Yeah, I think we've kind of come in a circle, right? Like you said, like in the 2000s, we felt like the pressure to make something new all the time. And then came COVID, where it was like, okay, well, now I can just, I mean, we'd shared content before on the internet, but it wasn't as impactful as it was seeing them in person at events. I almost used to be like, if I didn't wear an event, it wasn't a cosplay. So then when COVID hit and no one had any choice but to share it online, that's when it just became like, okay, well, now I've got content out every week or every day. And people would film, you know, a lot of content in one costume, and then they had to do another costume so that they could like alternate all that content. And then we came back to doing in-person stuff. And I think that's kind of where we started to curb it a little bit. A lot of people started cosplay over the pandemic because they could buy it. Or they learned how to sew, which is really cool. I know people that did learn how to sew and learn how to craft over the pandemic. And when we finally got into person, it was kind of balanced out. Anthony has a couple of questions. Oh, Matthew said, I don't know if we said hi to Matthew. My loves. Hope you both have a good weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Matthew's one of our event staff.
All day.
Lillian's just said hello. Anthony says,
Hi.
Jinx, did you feel uncomfortable wearing the outfit since it had your booty revealing? So I am very comfortable with my butt. If you haven't noticed in like our videos and events, I wouldn't wear it if I wasn't comfortable. So for me, it's fine. I have friends that I trust that are around me to, look out for me if there's any. Often I know how to take care of myself and I know my own limits. So I wouldn't recommend it for people who maybe have never done it or very, very shy. Maybe you need to like work yourself up to wearing a more revealing costume in public. But if you feel like, if you're comfortable doing it, do it. And Anthony says, Jessica, my name is Jessica. Jinx, is this character you're cosplaying a player 2 choice? So this is Kitana's default outfit. I'm not sure what colors she has default, but because Mortal Kombat kind of like duplicated characters, they had like one actor do like Kitana, Melina, and Jade, and they're just like the same costumes, but like blue, purple, and green. I'm not sure what their alternates are, but this is, I think, what she typically wears in 1 and 2. So no, this is just the default outfit. Lillian says, wow, spelling error. I was just thinking you were super excited.
Right. I took that as a compliment. Well, back on track a little bit more. So buying on cosplays online. And yes, it is incredible. It's awesome. But I do want to put a couple caveats out there because buying online is a double-edged blade. Yes, you can get really lucky. I feel like I've been really lucky because my last couple of costumes have been okay and I've been satisfied with their quality, but that's not always the case. So it's about finding resources that are trustworthy and have good buyback policies or return policies, and determining what companies that you like the best. And unfortunately, that's just usually you testing them out and seeing how you go. This is my newest one. It's from Uwo Cosplay. I bought it off somebody else. So she bought it off Uwo. I typically use Cosrea. My number one choice for people is Cosrea. So COSREA.com. They're very size inclusive. They have lots of different options. It doesn't cost any more money to get sizing differences on the costumes. They are a little on the spendy side, but they're extremely high quality. My Anna cosplay from Frozen, you guys, a while ago, my Anna cosplay was actually my first bought costume. I got it from Cosrea. Really high quality, beautiful suede, really comfortable, fit me really well. And I just was able to put in my own measurements. And then I've also used Doki Doki. But that's where that's where my caveat comes from. So Doki Doki has been really good to me, and it's also been very bad to me. So I bought my Weiwuxian from Doki Doki. I'm really happy with it. It came in a ridiculously fast time because I ordered it for SoccerCon with like only a couple weeks to go. I was really happy with it. So I was already hooked. I already really seemed to like that company. I ended up getting Twist Wonderland robes from it. But again, I bought from a friend who'd already didn't want it, but it was from Doki Doki. I was really happy with it, good quality. Well, my group, this actually also affects Thermo. So Thermo, me and my partner Sakura all decided to do the Twisted Wonderland robes with the shoes and like all proper. We were really excited about this costume. So Thermo had actually ordered the shoes first from Doki Doki, got them, fit perfectly, had no complaints. They were gorgeous. So at that point, me and Sakura both ordered a pair of shoes. So this is just a couple of months apart. So not a very long time happened. And then when we ordered the shoes, they came together because we're smart and we order things together as a group. So it's cheaper on shipping. Hack. If you have friends that want to buy cosplays online, do a big group buy so the shipping is cheaper. But we got our shoes. Well, the shoes that Sakura got were awful. The glue lines were wrong. They were obviously a mess. It was super low quality, and the heel was so off balance that they weren't comfortable or easy to wear and were quite dangerous. My shoes were okay, but also much lower quality than what we saw from Thermo shoes. And so we were both like, what the heck? So after a whole bunch of emailing, we were really dissatisfied with their service because, of course, they were like, oh, we'll just destroy the shoes and we'll send a new batch out. And we're like, dude, the con is at like this point. Like, we need the shoes at this point because we ordered them expecting to have actual high enough quality stuff to wear. Like, what are you guys doing? So it was a big messy thing. We ended up just doing normal black shoes for the con because our shoes just didn't work out. In fact, they were very uncomfortable and very disappointing. And it was just really crazy to see from the same company, basically the exact same product, such a difference of quality and materials, because the shoes that we had also ordered later than Thermo's were also very different looking than the ones that Thermo had gotten. So when you're on these kinds of websites, and if you're buying like for a group, say Sailor Moon or something, and you want to keep everything like across the board the same, just do extra research and be prepared to order things early just in case something does go wrong, or be prepared with shoes or something that might work out. We ended up just wearing black boots, which looked nice anyways. They just weren't as accurate as we were hoping to be. And it was an experience nonetheless. So I always tell people, please be careful when shopping from these places. They're not going to be perfect. And if you're buying on a con crunch, have a plan B because you're not always going to get exactly what you want.
That's definitely the key. I think the number one rule of buying cosplay online is give yourself plenty of time. Especially because, like, let's be real, a lot of the cosplays, if you buy it from websites like Uwowo or Pro Cosplay, a lot of it comes from and Chibi and I are based in the US. So of course, if you're somewhere else, Europe or Australia or anywhere else, we can't really speak for those kinds of like shipping times or anything like that. But for us, obviously being very far away from Asia, a lot of these companies do produce their products in Asia. Sometimes they allow you to do custom orders or custom sizing, and that's going to take even longer. So definitely depending on what you're ordering, where it's coming from, and if you're going to do a custom sizing, you're going to want to give yourself plenty of time. All of these items have to go through customs, regardless of what it is. I mean, even if it's just fabric, it still needs to go through customs. Mm-hmm. You need to give yourself time in case you need to return it and get another one, or do alterations, or other repairs. But yeah, definitely number one rule: give yourself time. Like, buy your stuff for next year now.
The unfortunate thing about buying generic online is they're all going to be generic. They're going to not fit the actual human body because they're supposed to fit many different bodies. So 99.9% of the time, I am going to make sure I know I'm altering a piece if I'm buying it, or I'm putting extra time into it. Not as much as if I built it myself. But as an example, it's really hard to get plus size cosplays that look good. It just is. It's starting to get a little bit better within the cosplay shopping areas, but it's still very hard to get one that you feel comfortable wearing and looks good on you. And that's one of the problems is one of my people in my group has to order stuff special made, which means they have a much smaller pool to choose from. And then they're probably going to have to alter it afterwards. And that's X amount of hours of altering into it. So it's just something that if you want to be as accurate as possible, keep in mind you're probably going to have to put a little extra work into it just to make it even fitted to yourself.
Yeah, and it's tricky, right? My second rule is check reviews. If it doesn't have any reviews, I would be very skeptical. I'd be very wary. And I do buy cosplays on AliExpress and Amazon, and I know that a lot of people like to support directly to the different companies. So when I talk about looking at reviews on sites like AliExpress or Amazon, I never buy stuff that doesn't have a review. And if it doesn't have any pictures, I get even more skeptical because a lot of times those reviews can just be purchased or um, populated by AI or whatever.
Yeah. And there's some pretty good lists out there now. If anybody's part of our Discord or Cosgear's Discord, or even check out Cosgear's website. I know that their app, I think, has the list on it officially now. I was helping them build a shopping list for cosplays, and there's a good handful of places out there now, and they're all from all over the world. So if you aren't comfortable buying from AliExpress or Amazon, there are options out there. Just you have to do your research. And what Jinx was saying, every single website you go to, use that method. Double check the reviews, double check the pictures, and decide if you think that's something you're worth gambling on, basically.
Yeah. Couple of questions here. When did we go through any of did you go through any of these while I was
Nope, I was
okay,
not.
no problem. Matthew says, know where you're buying from. Read reviews, make sure you know the sizing, of course. Yes, and definitely there's a thing called Asian sizing, which sounds weird. It's not like a technical term or anything, but it does exist.
This is an Asian large, just to let people know. I am not a large human. I am usually a small in American. So when I order Asian, I usually have to go up to a large because the mediums don't fit me very well. So just keep that in mind.
And I guess a quick rundown of what Asian sizing is, and I will be the one to do it because I am the Asian. So typically, Asian people tend to be on the smaller side, shorter, skinnier, or whatever. And when manufacturers in China manufacture clothing for Asian consumers, the sizing is different. And when they started opening up their retail to other countries, they ran into this issue where if I'm a medium, well, I'm Asian, but like say like the consumer is a medium and they order a medium from this Chinese producer or seller, it's going to come like an extra small. Like that's just what it is on that side of the world. Companies have gotten way better at adjusting their sizes to follow kind of like the masses, if you will, what is more commonly a small or a medium or a large. There are some that you have to be careful of because there's a way to size things larger and take into account all the different adjustments. Just because you expand the waist by 3 inches doesn't mean you just expand everything else by 3 inches, right? Like the body type is not just this linear form that just easily expands. So some companies are still learning to do proper sizing. There's some where people will get something and be like, yeah, it was fitting in the top, but the waist was like ginormous because they've just taken this pattern and went whoop, and that's not how the human body works. So that's why it's important to read reviews. There are companies out there that are better than others. So I know for sure Thermo Cosplay recommends Pro Cosplay. I know she buys a lot of her costumes from there and they end up looking really good. A couple more comments I know before we get too far behind. Y'all are like tearing it up in the chat. Matthew says, Anthony says, I also thought Chibi Rain Cloud was at the convention last week. No, Chibi is based in the Pacific Northwest, so she will be joining us in October at Uwu.
Yes. I will be at Uwu, though. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And Lillian says, did they send the proper shoes? I believe that was the story that you were telling.
I don't actually remember. I think they gave us a coupon or like a X amount of money on the website. I have to ask my partner because she was the one who actually had to deal with all of that. I hate shopping online. I It's funny that I'm on this episode because like I literally will not shop online until I absolutely have to, just on general principle, not cosplays, just on general principle. I hate shopping online. So I usually leave it to her because she can handle it and my mental health can't do it. But I don't know. I know that we don't have proper shoes. So
Yeah, and shoes, cosplay shoes. I'm not really an advocate for cosplay shoes. I mean, that's fine. I just feel like they're kind of expensive for like a one-time use thing. That's just me. I like to find shoes at like Goodwill or secondhand, or even shoes I have that I haven't been using, and I will alter them. I think the only cosplay shoes I've ever bought was the Tifa boots because I just wanted, like, I just treated myself.
I mean, but those are hot. Like a lot of my cosplay shoes are usually like also multi-character. I have just like generic loafers, black boots, et cetera, et cetera. I have very few shoes that are like very character specific. And usually when I do that, it's because I'm doing an event or I'm doing I'm trying to embody that character to perfection. And so that's like my one little like, oh, this is what I'm doing to perfect that character, but it's totally not needed, and they're usually extremely uncomfortable, so I tend to switch out of them like halfway through the day anyways.
I find that too. I found these really cool like heeled like combat boots at Goodwill that I'm like, I just bought them because like you have to, and I've used them for so many different cosplays. It's insane. And then I also found these pair of boots with they're like ankle boots with clear heels. And I found those recently, and I'm going to talk about how I use them in purchased cosplays. Yeah, I think they were like less than $10. Nice. And I was like, there's no way I'm passing these up. They're not the most comfortable things, but they look so cool in pictures. So we're going to share those in a little bit. Oh, we got more comments. Anthony, I also love that you're wearing that shiny, like your Bowsette cosplay. I do love this material. It just wasn't very breathable, but it looks just like I want it to. So that's another thing too about purchasing cosplay. Obviously you don't get a choice in the material, but I really like the way this looks. So Lillian says, I ordered my daughter's last cosplay from Korea and it looked like it would just fit her, and it's super baggy, which is better than too tight. That's another thing that you can always do if you're unsure, if you're between sizes, go up a size.
It's easier to take things in.
Yes, depending on how complicated the costume is. I mean, there's some that are just like, there's no way you can alter this at all. So again, it's kind of tricky.
But yeah, Korea has always done me really well. I always tell people, especially for like, they have a pretty limited, like they started out as a Disney website, so they have a lot of Disney and some like classic superhero stuff. I think they're finally really branching into like Genshin and some of the other bigger stuff. I mean, they do have a pretty decent variety on there, but they did originally start as Disney. So they have a lot of Disney options, but not as many in other places. But they're so friendly, and they're actually like a really good quality. Like for the price, they are a little expensive, but I've only had good experiences with them. Doki Doki's been 50-50. The quality is really, really high, but the costumes don't always fit comfortably. So again, it's just learn your websites, figure out which ones you like best.
Yeah, and definitely like you can ask your friends too. So we'll mention a couple other ones. Blake, hey friends, he says, what are your tips on sourcing and buying wigs? That's like a whole nother episode, Blake. Like,
I will add on to Gabriella, Epic and Arda, just straight up. I will not buy any other wig. I know a lot of people go with Amazon. I know a lot of people go with like Kosu. I can't do it. I have been spoiled my whole life. Epic and Arda have such great quality fibers. They have such high quality nets. I never have an itchy face or like a over hot head. Epics tend to be a little on the thick side, so you do have to thin them out. But this is an Epic. This is a Phoebe with a extra pony clip. And it is very heavy, but I'm very happy with how it fits on me. 99% of my wigs are Epic, and then probably a little more like 70 now, and then the rest are Arda. I also like reaching out to cosplayers in the area that are interested in getting rid of wigs and stuff, because you can always, somebody might already have the wig you want pre-styled. They're just trying to make room in their closets. You can always reach out and talk to people.
And you can sanitize wigs.
Definitely. You can wash ones that are unstyled, of course, like normal. And then the styled ones, you can always do like a Odaban is my favorite costume, like cleaner. It's usually fragrance free, and it's really like a really high sanitization. My biggest thing, and I cannot stress this enough. High quality wigs. And I know not everyone can afford it. That's totally fine. But if you're trying to embody an anime character, you're going to need anime hair. And like real hair just doesn't cut it for me. So I'm always been a really firm believer in buying a slightly higher quality wig. This is also a really nice thing because if you don't get your costume done in time, you can always do like a closet costume or a casual costume. But if you have the wig, you can still do the character because that's kind of what makes the character. So I will get a really cheap costume or a really cheap fabric, and I will put the extra money into buying a really high quality wig from Arta or Epic.
I definitely know that, like, so I'm cheap. So I often buy like cheap wigs because a lot of times I use them for one costume. I want to style them or whatever and use them for like one costume only. And so that's kind of why I go a little cheaper, but I know a little bit more about wig styling than the average cosplayer. But I did inherit some Arta wigs from a friend that was just like off, and I apologize for my AC. It works very well, but it's noisy. She offloaded a bunch of cosplay stuff when she moved halfway across the country. And I have some beautiful Arta, like my Bowsette's in Arta. I love it. That white wig that I used for peer tests, and I used it for something else as well. It's beautiful Arta. Like the quality is just so, even like secondhand, like, and my Morgan is an Arta wig, which is just so pretty, like the curls. I love seeing it in videos. So those are a couple of suggestions on wigs. But again, like I said, a whole other episode. We even have episodes on wigs, and I'd be happy to share those.
I'll give you a really quick list. So Arta and Epic are my top two. And then there's Cusso, Wow Wigs, Wig Fashion, Purple Plum, and Costcraft, which I think is UK. I do believe we lost the jinx, but those are like my top 6 favorite websites to buy wigs from that I've had like the highest quality from. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, sorry, I hit the back button. Okay, a couple more. Why you guys got lots of comments here? Blake says it's also good to have your measurements on hand. Yes, and if you don't know how to take your proper measurements, you can either go to a seamstress or you can find online how to do measurements and then have someone help you to make sure that you have everything that's even. That definitely helps. And then to convert them into centimeters as well, because like I said, a lot of these companies are based overseas where they use the metric system.
I recommend, if you don't, I think I have the echo back, Jinx. On your side, I have that echo back. But
sorry.
If you don't know how to do measurements yourself, reach out to a fellow cosplayer. Like, all you have to do is be like, hey, Facebook group, Discord chat, wherever, be like, hey, what does this mean in these measurements? Because there's a lot of just like jargon that these websites are going to throw in, like your inseam and the chest versus waist versus belt. Like, there's a lot of different places, and it's not exactly where you would have thought the measurement's going to be. So I would always, especially when you're new into this, but you really want that costume to fit better, maybe have a friend over with measuring tape that can help you, and ask a cosplayer to help you, like, where are these measurements exactly and what do I need to be looking for? Because we're all here to help.
Absolutely. And then Blake says comfort over look for shoes. Yeah, for a lot of people it should be. It really should be, because a lot of, your posture and a lot of your pain can come from like how you walk and what's on your feet. Gabby says, yeah, secondhand shoes or shoes that look similar, people don't usually notice the shoes anyways. That's true. Also, yes to Blake's comment, comfort. And sometimes like the used shoes are used like and broken in. So I usually find them to be, as long as they're not completely destroyed, because I do have like 1 or 2 shoes that are like, okay, this lasted like once. They actually are quite comfortable. I remember I bought a pair of white sneakers and I like painted them and changed them into like diva sneakers. And I was like, these are comfortable. I could wear them all day. Blake says, when it comes to buying cosplays, I'm sure Chibi and Jinx said it, but read reviews. Yeah. There are cosplayers that make cosplays on Etsy, but never review. Remember that even though they are a cosplayer doesn't mean that they will hold themselves accountable for manufacturing for someone else. That is true. Absolutely. There are commissioners out there that are not always, honest or trustworthy. So definitely reviews on them too. Oh, deliver. That make cosplays but on Etsy but never deliver. Don't be stupid like me. Be sure to break in cosplay shoes. Another good point. Especially because cosplay, when you buy shoes made for cosplay, they're not thinking of comfort at all.
It's just visual appeal.
Yeah, even if you have to buy like half a size up and get insoles, those, and then get removable insoles that you can use in other shoes as well. So that is a good way to go if you really want that accurate looking shoe. Or you're like a Genshin cosplayer, right? Genshin, hello.
Everything is intense with Genshin.
Yeah. So, so I actually wanted to share a couple of places, a couple of cosplays that I've purchased, because I don't do many, and let me just pull this up here a second. So obviously the cosplay I'm wearing now is purchased. This is the latest purchase costume I got, and I did buy it on Amazon. Let me find it here. That's not the right one. So this is by Cosplay FM. Now, a lot of cosplay companies do sell on Amazon as well. I know Mick Costumes, My Costumes does. Where is this one? Oh, Window. Let's do Window. So this is the second one I purchased from Cosplay FM. So this is the one I'm wearing right now. And again, remember that Mortal Kombat made like 3 of the same characters and they just changed the color. So you really could be Melina, Kitana, or Jade. I went with Kitana because I like her character. Also, Melina's cool too because she's got the crazy mouth. But anyway, so I purchased this in a medium. Again, there wasn't really much sizing here, but was it me to get this in a medium? I did. I could always take it in if it was too big. And then as Amazon gets to know you, it'll tell you like, hey, you probably fit in a medium. So of course, looking at this, you can see it's pretty cheap. In fact, I think it's cheaper than when I bought it. You can see that all the materials probably the same. So we know that it's not going to be super comfortable, but hey, it'll get the job done. And this is pretty common in a lot of cosplays that have boots, is that they don't have real boots. These are just like socks, right? The other cosplay I bought from Cosplay FM was the Starfire, which actually looked a lot better than I thought it would. This one has kind of like the boot covers, so you can put them over boots. But again, that's kind of it. It really is just socks with holes in them. So what I like to do is I like to alter them and make them more durable. This is something easy you can find on any website. You can even buy them pre-cut at like the stores. So these are like the no-slip grips that you just stick on the bottom of your shoes. So what I usually do is, for example, for the Starfire one, it's already got a boot shape. So I would put my boot on, put the cover over it, and then just kind of position where I would put that non-slip stick on there. And that protects the fabric because it really is all the same fabric. It's all spandex. So even like 1 hour walking on concrete in these shoes with these boot covers, they're just going to rip apart. So in order to make them last longer, be safer, and be reusable, I highly recommend when you buy these to put these non-slip stickies on the bottom of them. I'm going to find a picture of what I did with Kitana's, because Kitana's is just a whole sock. Like I had to cut a hole in everything. So that was a bit tricky on that part. In terms of my Widowmaker I bought on Amazon, but it was by Mick Costumes. And that's just mostly because I have an Amazon Prime account. You don't need to buy them on Amazon. You can always buy them directly from the websites. And then when we talk about AliExpress, obviously it takes a lot longer. I'd say at the fastest, it can be 2 weeks to the US. At the fastest. The longest can be months.
No, I was really shocked because I ordered my Weiwuxian from Doki Doki, and it was kind of a gamble if it was going to make it on time for the convention, because it was like, could be here in 2 weeks, could be here in a month and a half. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to make the gamble. It ended up getting there within like the 2-week period, which shocked me because it came by Emerald City. And I was like, oh, well, that's exciting. But I also made sure when I was buying, I purchased one that said already made, because on websites, they'll usually put like either a comment or a note or something saying a pre-made costume versus a to-make costume. And a lot of the times, if you're putting in your measurements and stuff, it's a costume that they have to kind of put together. It's not completely finished yet, which is going to add to the shipping and the rest of the time, versus a costume that is manufactured, pre-made, done, ready to go. They just ship it once you make the order. So I was very specific. Like, I know I definitely want this to make it on time, which means I cannot put in that extra time to have it made tailored to me. So I decided to go a size up. I just bought one that was already ready to go, but it did make it on time. But that is one thing to really watch out for, especially if you're on a con crunch. Is that costume going to be shipped right away, or is that going to be built and then shipped? Because that's going to add so much more time to that costume.
Absolutely. And so here you can see the reason I purchased this costume that I could make myself, but it would have taken way longer than it would to ship it, because pleats and all this stuff take a lot of time, is because I realized I needed some more easier costumes to throw on instead of all these like elaborate ones that I make and are not easy to quickly wear. And you can see here on AliExpress, they often will offer them in both genders or both sexes. I apologize. In men's or women's, and then of course they have all of the measurements here. Some of them do them in inches, but I think it's more accurate to do them in centimeters for these companies that work overseas in the metric system. So definitely helpful. I think I bought a large in this one, or maybe an extra large, because when we look, I think it was a large. When I'm typically a medium or small in like US sizes, just to be safe. The only thing that I had a problem with this outfit, and again, like I said, the quality is not always the best, especially with the price. You just have to expect it. Where the sleeves were really, really long. They were like stupid long. For me, as someone who sews and alters, all I had to do was just remove the cuff, cut down the sleeve, and then just reattach the cuff. So for me, that was pretty easy. Blake says, I always wear sports socks. They will add padding. Yes, I agree. Even when I'm wearing boots, even if I have like stockings on, I will still wear socks, athletic socks with some padding on it as well. Non-slips are good for Spider-Man suits. I guess it's a pet peeve of mine when I see people in these suits, these Zentai suits or whatever, that don't have anything at the bottom of them. Like not even, like they're literally wearing like socks on the con floor. Put those, put it on. You can even put like a slip-on shoe and then put it on. And then, measure that non-stick to the bottom of it. It's also going to protect the fabric and make it last a lot longer. So
my D-lit boots, I made my D-lit boots very specific to have shoes in them, because I was like, there's no way I'm just going to wear it, because they were just like they're just like leather sacks on her feet. Like there's nothing there. And so I was like, but no, I'm going to put shoes on with these. And so I specifically made sure I made that with that in mind. But like in your area, you don't have to worry about this as badly. But if you're doing Zentai suits and stuff in Washington, they're going to get wet. Like everything is wet here all year round. You just assume it. So for people that are going to be wearing costumes that are touching the ground, like it really helps to have that extra layer of protection on the very bottom of those things to help get some of that, like to get your feet off of the wet ground, basically. Because as soon as your feet get wet and you have to suddenly walk around an entire convention for hours with wet feet, it is the most uncomfortable thing you will put yourself through. So they help a lot.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to pull up here a picture of, let me see. Oh, of what my boots look like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's that? Oh, okay.
I don't have any pictures of my, like, I have like one picture of my Anna. I'm so bad at taking pictures. I have a couple pictures of my Wuxian because that's currently where my brain is. But my Anna is from Doki Doki. I'm still looking for a picture of her, but I don't have any.
So here, you can see that these are the boots that I found. I found them at Goodwill, okay? Like, they're awesome. I could not pass them up. They're ankle boots. They go up to about here. And you can see a little bit of the boot like seams, but it doesn't matter. People aren't like looking at the boot seams. So the same Kitana outfit that we were looking at on Amazon, again, were just like socks, right? Completely flat. Like you just put your foot in there. So it was a little bit tricky. I did have to stretch it a little bit over the shoe because there's not as much give. It is a stretchy material, but it's not like super, super stretchy, right? So basically what I did was I put it on kind of like guessed without the boot. I put it on without the boot, kind of guessed where the heel would be. Maybe I moved it up a little bit further back. I cut the hole in it and then I started to pull it over the boot. And then as I found where the hole would go over the heel, I would then, cut a little bit more away and away. You don't want to cut it too big at first because if it's too big, then it'll just not look great. And then once I had the boot on, I don't have a picture of that non-slip, but once I had the boot on and I positioned it properly, had the seams where I want it to be, I put that non-stick pad on it. And again, the one that I showed, you can cut into whatever shape you want. And this actually helps it stay in place as well. Not only is it great for, protecting the bottom of the shoe, and that thing stayed on all day. Sometimes when I buy those pre-made non-stick grips, they end up coming off, especially in Arizona, because our concrete is very, very hot, very hot. I managed to walk around these outside, and it was quite hot during Game On Expo. I think it was at least 105, and these stayed on all good. So these are gonna, survive for a lot longer, and I can reuse these boots. Like I said, I used them for my Starfire cosplay as well. Let me pull up the Starfire one. Did you have any other pictures that you wanted to share, Chibi?
I mean, I guess I have some Twisted Wonderland ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so bad at taking pictures of myself.
We have to be around to take more pictures of you then.
I just every time I start a convention, I'm like, I'm going to take more pictures at this con, and then I never do. I just get so busy and so excited. That's
fair. That's absolutely fair.
And like I said, I had just started buying costumes in like the last couple of years. So I don't have very many things because most of my costumes are costumes that I've done.
Let's see, a couple comments. Blake says, I mean, we could have a whole talk about Zentai suits, but all I have to say is dancers belts. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Even especially if you purchase like so when we talk about a Zentai suit, that's kind of like what you see Spider-Man in, is like this one big giant suit, a big spandex suit. And when you wear something skin tight like that, it shows everything. So when we talk about dancers belts, these are primarily for male packages that kind of keeps everything in place and hidden from the public. So we'll definitely talk a little bit more about that in another episode. So this is Chibi's purchased Twisted Wonderland Lilia, right?
This is Lilia.
I made that wig for you.
Yeah. Yes, you did. This one was, I didn't do nothing. I didn't lift a single finger. It was great. This was the chili costume. Huh?
You clicked buy.
Exactly. No, I was so excited to do Lilia. This was another one that my friend was just like, oh, this costume doesn't fit me right, so I'm selling it. And I was like, okay, cool. I will buy it off of you because it'll fit me. It is a little bit big on me, but like it's robes. It's baggy. It works. I always cosplay the Shotas from Twisted Wonderland. I just, that's what happens. So I was like, this is fine. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with the quality. Well, in fact, my partner bought one as well, and I kind of like hers better, to be perfectly honest. But she had to do some alterations on hers because it didn't fit right, but the quality was better. So it's such a weird thing that I guess it's not weird. It's all of these companies have different people that work on different costumes. So some costumes are going to vary from materials, styles. Yes. I think hers has glitter on it. Mine has no glitter. Like they're all very different from each other, even if you buy them from the same website. So reviews are very important.
Absolutely. And again, like you also get what you pay for. Like I said, when I bought that Kagome cosplay at like $30, I had to make alterations to it. And that's what I expected. A lot of times, if you're going to pay more, because it takes more time and effort to make these costumes that have a lot more details and fit properly, then, you're probably going to have not to do much alterations at all. So if you're willing to put some work into a cheaper costume, or even like you can buy stuff and add things to it, embellish it, that's another great way to do it as well. That way you can customize it. I'm going to share this one here. This is my Tifa Wall Market outfit. And I could have made this, but also like it wasn't easy to find fabric that matched it. So that's another reason why as well to buy things is if it's already in that specific print. Like this is like a purpley black leopard print. Like what? I literally did search the internet trying to find this because I was like, oh, this is just a regular like kipow. I can make this, no problem. And I could not find it. And it probably would have costed me more if I was to design it and like print my own fabric, like on Spoonflower. I think that stuff's like $30 a yard or something. I don't know. This
Another
costume,
reason why I bought Twisted Wonderland is like, I'm not doing those keys. The entire inside of the robes are lined with keys. I'm like, I'm not doing that to myself.
right? And some of these purchased costumes look amazing. I know that Makaria buys a lot from Uwowo, and they have quite beautiful. I've seen the stuff that comes through, like that she orders, and sometimes
this
I'm
one
like,
has like resin casting on it, and like it's honestly really pretty. I'm gonna go look on their website a lot more because this is my first one from the Uwo. I like it. It's also rather airy for the fact I have like 3-layer Hanfu on.
yeah. And then we're all wrapping up here. It's 5:55. Let's see a couple more comments. I feel like Blake says, I feel like most people forget that part of the garments underneath. Yes, that is true. Me to Chibi, I get so distracted and I don't take photos or post. That's why I love to have Sam around because Thermo cosplay, because she takes a lot of pictures. Or if I take pictures, I just like send them over to her and she just makes something.
Every time me and Matt are together, we make a promise to like make each other take pictures, and we do pretty good. So
absolutely. So this is the site that I like to use. I sell my stuff on Depop, and then I also buy secondhand cosplays on Depop as well. You might have heard of Poshmark. Poshmark is the same kind of platform, although Poshmark only has one kind of shipping option, which is great if you have big items, but it sucks if you have smaller items because they have a one price. And they tend to be, Poshmark tends to be a little more high-end branded. I find that Depop has a lot more subculture and pop culture and definitely more cosplays. So I've purchased 2 cosplays on here. I purchased My Hero Academia uniform, and I've also purchased the Kakegurui uniform as well. And I've sold cosplays on here. So I've sold my not Black Cat Diva, my Academy Diva, which is like half made. And then I sold another one that I've made. So I really like Depop. They give you like 5 or 6 different shipping options. The browsing is a little bit tricky. If you put in cosplay, it doesn't always come up with that stuff, but there are ways to find it. I think if I even put cosplay in here, it won't really cosplay costume. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. I think they're getting better. Okay, so here you can see that there are lots of different options in here.
And using even like Facebook Market, we have like local swap markets in our area sometimes. At least I know in Pacific Northwest we do, where cosplayers can go and sell their cosplays and meet other cosplayers that are interested in selling cosplays. And it's kind of nice because you end up usually just swapping costumes with somebody, which means you get a new costume. That costume that you're selling gets a secondary life. So just like hitting up local stuff, I feel like with cosplay, it's gone so mainstream online that people forget that we can do stuff in person. And buying and selling costumes and trading costumes with friends and like trading wigs with friends, like that's a really great way for wigs and costumes to get resourced and reused. And it's such, I hate this and I hope it goes away someday, like some of the other bad things in the cosplay, but like the taboo that you can't wear the same thing your friend wears. Like if you love a character that somebody else loves, like why don't you both wear the costume? In fact, if you're the same size, you guys can go in halvesies and buy the costume and then have fun with it. Like there's nothing stopping you from enjoying the same costumes as your friends. I personally have this like stupid goal to cosplay all of the Twisted Wonderland boys in my lifetime, and I have a bunch of friends that cosplay Twisted Wonderland. In fact, I try to use their wigs to do like a one shot, so I'm like, oh, I can do Leona real quick because my partner does Leona, so I have that wig now. Using stuff like that is a really great way to reuse costumes and to give them a second life, and also find homes for costumes if you need to make a little money.
And there are Facebook groups too that do swaps. People sell stuff on Instagram, all sorts of stuff. And of course, Blake says, doesn't Cost Talk host swap meets? We do. We host cost swaps, which our last one was in conjunction with Uwu Nights. And I got rid of a lot of costumes. And I know Thermo Cosplay did too. And it's a really great way because then people can see them in person. You don't need to pay shipping costs. It's definitely a new thing. The cosplay swap meets is a new concept. I haven't heard it happening much elsewhere. There are a couple people that do a couple other ones. I'm sure they do them in California all the time. But we've been doing a couple. We've done, I think, 3 or 4 so far. We probably won't do another one for the rest of the year because we get so busy with Uwu, but we've already started talking about our next year's cost swaps. Great place to buy used cosplays, trade. I mean, you can, like the rules are really just each seller has their own rules, but This is another example of a Zentai suit where it's just like one piece of like spandex. But yeah, I would highly recommend people to check out Depop. It's a free account. You don't need to sell stuff on there. I sell stuff on there, but you can find some pretty cool stuff. Blake says, I can't wait for Uwu. Oh my God, it's 6 o'clock. So if you guys have any last questions, throw them in the chat. Was there anything else that we missed, Chibi, that we should touch on?
No.
I know we can go for like forever, but
just, I guess my last words of wisdom are, one, if you guys are interested in lists of websites that we trust or know, you can always check out our Discord, hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, our website. I have a personal list of all the websites that I trust and love and some of the reviews, where they come from, how long wait times are and stuff. I also know Cosgear also has this. I'm a big fan of Cosgear. They do some wonderful work. Go give them some love. But overall, don't let anyone make you feel bad for not building your costume. Like, if you want to do this, whether you have time, money, or energy, like, that shouldn't be what stops you. Go enjoy costumes, have fun with it. Just always say where you got the costume. Like, no matter what, always say, this is the website I got the costume from. This is the photographer that took the pictures of my costume. Because then you're being at least clear that, hey, I didn't put all the hard work into it. I mean, unless you did the wig. Like, I'm crazy and do all my own wigs. But like, go have fun, enjoy yourself, and just tag properly. Like, that's what makes it a fair playing ground for everybody when you tag things.
Yes. Never, ever, ever. And this is definitely on the honor system. There's no cosplay police, but it's always in bad taste to claim that you made something that you didn't. Like, full stop. You know, I would never say that I made this, even if people think I did. A lot of people think that I buy stuff that I make. So I'm definitely going to be like, no, I made that. But if someone's like, oh, wow, that looks great, I'm like, 100% I bought this. I may have altered one or two things. That's it. I did throw in the chat, guys, if you look in the comments, our Discord invite. Please feel free to join. You don't need to be a cosplayer. You just need to like cosplay is what I always say. I apologize. I have not been on it lately. But then again, I'm still like knee deep in boxes moving.
I'm always there.
Yeah, Chibi's there all the time. Blake says cosplay is an art and expression through fandom. You don't need to build it all to have fun and express yourself. And I think that's awesome. Again, like I said, when I cosplayed years ago, people always wanted to do it, but it wasn't as easy. You know, I can't be like, yeah, I'll make it for you, or I'll teach you how to sew. You know, I was kind of like, oh, well, you know. But now we can say, hey, check out this website, or blah, 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 or I'll sell you my costume. So a lot of amazing other ways to do it. I will also throw in some of my links in the Discord as well. And you guys can always check this episode out. We keep our live streams on post-broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. And yeah, we are going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. Chibi, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Ta-da! Chibi_RainCloud on everything. Discord, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook now. I'm finally upgrading again, trying to get my social medias back. I'm not online at the moment. I am taking a little break, so you'll just catch me on Discord. But you can always say hi. Like I said, I have a personal list of cosplay websites, wig websites, makeup websites, FX makeup websites. Like, anything that I have found useful information has been put into a document. So if you would like that, just message me and I'll totally get it to you.
And you can always message us on any of our Cost Talk platforms. Before I share where you can find me, and I know we're running over time, we are in talks of changing up our schedule a little bit. I do apologize that we do this quite often. Remember again that, you know, we all volunteer our time for Cost Talk, and you know, we want to make sure that it's enjoyable for the hosts first and foremost. Like, if we're not enjoying it, you guys aren't going to enjoy it. So keep an eye out for our schedule changes. We'll definitely have them listed up on Facebook and YouTube. And you can find me at The Jinx Cosplay on Facebook, YouTube. I am on Twitch, but I don't use it. I'm back on TikTok, Instagram, and Cost Talk Live. We have our website, costtalk-live.com, and we are on the socials at Cost Talk Live. You can always hit us up there if you can't remember where to find one of our hosts, and we can always send those messages out. We love to hear your suggestions, your comments, anything. Thank you so much for tuning in with us every week. Again, our schedule will be changing, but hopefully it'll be more fun for you guys. I think it will be a lot of fun. So thanks again, guys. Join the Discord. Check us out on all the socials. Share it with your friends, and we will see you next time. Bye. Mwah.